These are 10 times the Kingdom Hearts series got way too dark. While Kingdom Hearts is a lighthearted series with themes of friendship and adventure, there are instances throughout the series that remind us it's a little more mature than it gives off. For starters, it's a Disney-based game with tons of iconic Disney characters from decades in the past. Disney loves to keep their content as squeaky clean as possible when first jumping into it. Then they do this thing where they show you some of the most messed up things in the world. For example, do you remember how Clayton died at the end of Tarzan? Yeah, this animated film is for children, and they're out here showing that. The Kingdom Hearts series is on a similar boat, with most of the games focusing on traveling Disney World to Disney World. For the most part, it's about making friends and finding those you have lost. There's also just fun gameplay along the way to keep things light and interesting. But the cast of the Kingdom Hearts series have made tons of sacrifices in messed up ways. From conversations about murder, war, mental health, and truly the brutal beating of a bunch of teenagers, I was able to find 10 moments from the series that surprised me that they were able to get away with this. These 10 moments I deemed pretty dark for a game that also features Mickey Mouse. And I want to be clear, I don't mean dark like the darkness dark, the malevolent threat that aims to destroy all the worlds and snuff out all the light. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that part alone. There's so much of that in the series.
Darkness.
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 Starting with the first entry, Kingdom Hearts 1 is the best put together in terms of its story. The integration with the original story and the Disney worlds was met to near perfection. As we reach the climax of the game, our first instance is going to be in Hollow Bastion. At this point, Sora has just defeated a Riku possessed by Ansem and needs to seal the keyhole. Doing this will prevent darkness from overtaking the world. Because the keyhole is not complete, he's unable to seal it. He needs Kairi in order to wake up for the keyhole to be complete. And to get that done, he essentially picks up a giant sword, smiles, and stabs himself with it. Donald and Goofy are even pleading with him not to do it. Sora, without a care for his own well-being, decides to take his own life to bring back his friend. Like, that's pretty intense when you think about it. I think the grin on Sora's face says it all when he knows he shouldn't be doing this. And then Sora falls into a pit of darkness and Hollow Bastion begins to fall. Even the name of the song in this part is called Sora's Sacrifice. You gotta remember, this is a 14-year-old boy who just impaled himself to wake up his homie. If that's not loyalty, then I don't know what is. Of course, this is only the beginning of the brutal deaths that take place for the rest of the series. And how do you follow up an implied suicide in a Disney game? With tons of murder. Moving on to the next entry, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories is where the series really starts to develop its antagonist. Throughout the game, Sora and Riku will need to navigate through a castle made up of their own memories. Most of the levels in Kingdom Hearts 1 return, but then there's the in-between of the floors. Here, our heroes will interact with Organization 13, and by interact, I mean murder. The first one that comes to mind is with Vexen in Twilight Town. Now in the story, Sora has just defeated Vexen in front of the mansion. He begins to plead with Sora, telling him that he's gonna fall right into the Organization's trap. Right before Vexen could get into the nitty-gritty, Axel appears and puts him on the ground. He literally says, "I came here to stop you from talking by eliminating your existence." Moments later, Vexen is begging for his life, begging for Axel to let him go. And with a snap of a finger, he bursts into flames and dies right in front of Sora.
What are you people?
You can see the look of pure terror in Sora's eyes as this is happening. Cut forward to Riku's playable section of the game, and he's dealing with the darkness inside of him. After reaching the 5th basement floor and battling Lexaeus, he brutally puts the beats on Riku, slamming him into the ceiling. And Riku responds by taking that personally. He accepts the darkness in his heart only for a second and cuts Lexaeus right in half. It's one of those samurai slices where the damage is implied, but Lexaeus instantly drops his weapon and dies. That slice was fatal. Riku even then taunts him with one of these.
Too slow.
He's already dead.
Another teenager capable of murder. Then the replica version of him says double it and pass it to the next person. A few hours later, after defeating Zexion as Riku, he flees from the scene and Axel and Repliku appear. Axel then inspires Replica Riku to essentially suck the power out of Zexion, giving him false ideas of becoming a real boy, and using his powers to make that happen. So Repliku does just that and takes matters into his own hands, and he dies right there on the spot. You can see the life being removed from his body as his feet stop swinging. He's no longer pleading for his life, but rather accepting falling into the light. Absolutely no mercy in Chain of Memories. These members of the organization got it bad. Moving on to Kingdom Hearts 2, the biggest violation of human rights happens at the absolute end of the game. If you beat the game on the hardest difficulty, you can unlock the secret ending of the game. While everyone back then thought this was a hint to Kingdom Hearts 3, it ended up being a setup to Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, the PSP handheld title. This video is essentially 3 teenagers just getting absolutely rocked. The video is less than 4 minutes long, but to this day, I still haven't seen a whooping this bad. Ventus, Aqua, and Terra never once had the advantage.
God, please, no! No!
Hey, get him up, let him get up, let him get up, let him get up.
Fight back! Fight back!
Did somebody say boom?
Can I tell you how crazy it was to see the scene where his helmet is getting cracked? No. We're gonna go through this right now. Ventus tries to hit Xehanort with the man teleports behind him and grabs him by his dome piece. Ventus is flailing like a fish out of water, and with the grip of his thumb, he's shattering his helmet. Then Terra's like, I got this then. Get out of the way, stupid, what are you doing? Aqua then looks up and sees her homie getting manhandled. Then he just freezes him and throws him down like the piece of garbage he is. Keyblade gone. Bro, just look at this. And if Aqua didn't catch him last second, he was absolutely donezo. I think this scene permanently changed my psyche the first time I saw it. These characters are just absolutely getting their cans kicked, and they're showing it. Like, it's not just implied. Like, you see them getting rocked. And then like 2 seconds later, Mickey Mouse shows up. Kingdom Hearts is fantastic. Moving on to Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep before Ventus gets folded, here's another instance of Ventus getting folded. There's a flashback where Ventus is surrounded by a bunch of Neo Shadows, which are essentially a strong variant of the Heartless. In this context, Ventus is begging his master Xehanort to stop this from happening. He says he simply isn't strong enough, but Xehanort is like, nah, you'll be fine. Attempting to awaken the darkness inside of Ventus, Xehanort just does not stop. The Neo Shadows creep closer and closer, eventually attacking Ventus and putting him to the ground. Still, instead of dealing with it, Xehanort rips the darkness outside of Ventus's heart, creating Vanitas, shattering the boy in the process. This kid was literally begging his master to not push him so hard. As a result, he lost himself and wouldn't be found again without Sora. I feel like there's some child labor laws being challenged here. Even then, it's still not the worst thing to happen to Ventus, or let alone the rest of the main cast. Every playable character in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep is met with an incredibly sad ending. With Ventus, he ends up losing his heart and is forced into a 10-year sleep, his body essentially collecting dust for 10 years in isolation from everyone. But honestly, a 10-year coma is the lightest of these sentences. Aqua, on the other hand, gets sent to eternal damnation for 10 years, where in the realm of darkness, she's constantly fighting for her life every second. Not only that, but the realm is taunting her, showing her images of her long-lost friends along the way. It's basically being sent to the Kingdom Hearts version of hell for an entire decade. Then there's Terra. Terra ends up getting his body snatched by an old man who's bent on destroying the world. Mind you, this old man has been pushing him to this point as his whole agenda. His body gets absolutely shredded and then broken up into a bunch of different other men along the way. I'm trying to keep the plot simple. But all of our heroes absolutely get the short end of the stick here. Although Terra is the one that's offering the most intrigue. While his body has been taken by Xehanort and his heart has fallen into the darkness, Terra is that character where he was literally too angry to die. We all know anger is a powerful feeling that can make us do crazy things. But have you ever been so angry that you refuse to die? All of that hate and anguish ended up inside of his Keyblade armor, not only creating one of the hardest bosses in Kingdom Hearts history, but also one of the most subtle instances of holy cow, this is kind of messed up. Sora appears in the Wasteland in this completely optional boss fight at the end of the game. The Lingering Will appears on the ground and immediately starts talking about his friends. After seeing the Keyblade, he starts to have some sort of trauma response, only seeing the Keyblade and not Sora holding it. He assumes it's Xehanort, the Keyblade wielder responsible for ruining his life. And it starts off this incredibly fun and challenging battle. Only after defeating him, the Lingering Will come to respect Sora for his power, where he then disappears back into the sands to return later for Kingdom Hearts 3. The level of patience to want to lay hands on Xehanort like this is incredible. And the Lingering Will is the only kind of thing like this, where the trauma of the past has affected our characters. Then Kingdom Hearts 3 came out and decided to teach kids about PTSD. In the case of Aqua, we appear at the Keyblade graveyard ready for the final battle. Tons of Heartless show up and it's up to our Guardians of Light to save the day. When things are getting tough, Aqua steps up and is ready to face the darkness ahead of her. Although when it's finally time, she just shuts down. The Heartless come and she does nothing to fight back about it. Now, it isn't until Remind came out where we can see why this happens. All of the Heartless then transform into versions of Aqua from when she fell into darkness. She's having a traumatic flashback of her time in the realm of darkness. This fear ends up overtaking her and swallowing her into the darkness. The inclusion of Anti-Aqua and Remind goes such a long way in displaying this scene. The Anti-Aqua just take the air, and she's reminded of her horrible shadow prison from the last 10 years. Then she just gives up and accepts her fate. Of course, there's also the rest of the scene in its entirety, where all the characters we come to know and love throughout the year just die. I mean, all of this gets instantly fixed with Sora time traveling and such, but there is a moment where all hope is lost and darkness has won. Sora is literally screaming and falls to the ground because all of his friends were taken. Our happy-go-lucky boy has his spirit shattered because all of his friends are dead. Then he sees his boyfriend die right before his eyes. That would be some traumatic stuff for anybody to see. Going back into the past with more murder, it's time to enter the age of fairy tales, since the Kingdom Hearts mobile titles aren't innocent from this rule. In fact, some of the most messed up things that happen in the series come from these mobile games, starting with the case of Strelitzia. This has been a character that's introduced to us with some of the nicest intentions. She's been keeping an eye out on the player character, hoping to build some sort of relationship from afar. Because of her kind nature, she's asked to join the Dandelions, a group of people who will continue on after the world has fallen in the Keyblade War. Oh yeah, that's another thing. There's a war with tons of teenagers and they all die killing each other. God. Anyway, for Strelitzia, she's about to join the Dandelions, and then she is murdered. She's killed by something in the darkness, and she crawls away to the door, where her heart then floats away, signifying that she is gone from this world. She was also introduced shortly before she was murdered, and honestly, she didn't do anything wrong. She wasn't around long enough to do anything wrong. They just slit her throat and keep the game rolling. I mean, now she's gonna appear in Kingdom Hearts 4, so she's not truly gone, but the pace at which they slaughtered this character is impressive. Of course, this is Kingdom Hearts, where death means absolutely nothing, but then there's the mental health stuff, and it peeks its pretty little head again in Kingdom Hearts Dark Road. This is one of the newest Kingdom Hearts stories, so if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend you leave now because golly gee, it is really good. This is another mobile title that focused on Xehanort's time training to be a Keyblade wielder. It's honestly incredible how good the writing is in this mobile game. I cannot recommend it enough. But the darkness really starts to show its face here. In this title, there are two siblings called Hoarder and Balder. To keep a long story short, Balder essentially sees his sister get killed right before his eyes. This death causes Balder to grieve and overthink the situation. This causes the darkness to grow inside of him with each passing day. And there is a scene where you can slowly see darkness overtaking him like depression would. He begins to slowly lose his hope on the world, and the darkness just takes over. Balder then goes on to kill almost every main character in Dark Road. All of the friends Xehanort had made were met with such awful ends because of Balder. His grief manifested into the ending of lives for tons of characters. Xehanort then needs to be the one to put an end to his life to stop his rampage. It was really something else to see madness take over a character like this, and there are tons of connections between the darkness and mental health in the series. It's kind of messed up, but I definitely respect Kingdom Hearts for standing on these difficult lines. But I had to save my personal favorite for last, and it happens in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. When playing as Aqua and approaching the end of the Castle of Dreams visit, she'll need to defeat a giant pumpkin Unverse. The scene right before this shows the evil stepsisters using the Unverse to try and harm Cinderella. I'm just gonna play the scene because I feel like I can't do this any more justice by talking about it.
This is what happens when you go against my wishes.
The darkness in their hearts overtook them.
Burst into flames in an instant. Then Aqua just gets up and deals with the Unversed. Like there's not some crispy barbecue bodies laying in the woods somewhere. But yes, these are instances where Kingdom Hearts got super dark. Honestly, I love that the series is able to tackle such serious issues. It reminds me that Kingdom Hearts is both lighthearted content and all the serious stuff. And there's probably gonna be tons of dark moments to appear in the future. Did I miss any? Please let me know in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching. Please be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and stay awesome.